Hey, what's up, guys? This video right here, I'm going to show you something real quick with XRP. I haven't shown this before, but maybe we are in another type of Wyckoff accumulation pattern on a much smaller scale, right? So if I zoom all the way out, everybody knows what the chart looks like, right? So I'm going to focus my attention on this area right here, right? And we're going to try to figure out what's happening in here and see what all of this could mean. So before I do that, obviously we've been in this ascending channel, right? We've been bouncing around in here for 650 days, just about. You know, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So eventually, you know, this thing's got to break one way or another at some point. What I do like about this channel is it reminds me of a lot or somewhat of this channel down here, right? Because the whole point of a chart for an investor, a hodler, is when moon. When are we going to blast off? When is this thing finally going to rip to the upside? Well, the only real way to figure that out is what is Bitcoin doing, which Bitcoin's doing just fine. It's above its all-time high. It's finally consolidating. I've been talking for the last week or so. We need a correction. We need some consolidation. You know, the higher it goes, the longer the correction is needed, right? So you know, when we got to the all-time high of Bitcoin, I said before, when Bitcoin broke out into a new all-time high, it took about, you know, a month, right, to officially break it. And then back in 2016, 2017, it took like 6 months to officially break above the all-time high. So going back to today, I mean, it broke it within a matter of a week or two, right? I think it was a week. So here's the price of Bitcoin right here. I'm going to show you real quick. You know, we jumped above the all-time high, right? And currently we're holding above it, right? This is a 2-day candle. We have a 2-day close above the all-time high. We also have a weekly close, right? So, you know, for me, when you go back in time, and I've shown this before, you know, it takes, you know, a little while to break above the all-time high. So right about here represents the all-time high of the previous cycle, right? Of the previous time we broke above. So we ran up to it, then we pulled back, then we came up to it again, then we pulled back again, right? So it was kind of like a bull flag. Then we finally broke out. We had this consolidation here, right? And then you go back beyond that point, this was the other time we broke above the all-time high. So look at this. You can see we have this consolidation here, and it was pretty big. I mean, I think that was what, about from here to until we finally broke above, I would say about 100 days or so. So it took a good amount of time, right? So it's same kind of thing. We ran up to it, we came back down, we came back above again, and then we had this other correction, right? So but that didn't happen with Bitcoin. So if you look at what happened with Bitcoin this time we broke out, right? It just basically, we just sliced right through it. So maybe, you know, back when we were over here, when we at 67K, I said, look, there's a good chance that we're going to stay under here for a while and correct and consolidate. But that didn't happen. We broke out again. So to me, you know, I'm thinking, okay, that's probably that fifth wave of the fifth wave. And now we should start consolidating or correcting. Because if you look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? We have 5 waves. So at the very minimum, you need some type of ABC correction to continue it going, some type of flagging out process, right? Now, obviously, that doesn't have to happen. This is not financial advice, right? But this has never happened before, where Bitcoin's broken above. It kind of did back then, but it was sort of a flat pattern. So, for example, we could have something like this, where we come up, we come back down, right? Then we come back up again, we break the top, then we sort of flag out in here, and then we continue on. So it'll be an A, B, C, but in the form of a flat. A, B, C, go. And the same thing, right, kind of happened the last time. So check this out, right? And this is important to understand, I think, because, you know, because the all-time high of Bitcoin is very important, because it sets the stage for what the altcoins can do. So if the altcoins need a correction along with Bitcoin, but Bitcoin just broke above the all-time high, people think, well, it's got to keep going, but that's not true, right? We could pull back. So we came up to the all-time high, we pulled back, then we broke above the all-time high, then we pulled back again, right? So it was an A, B, C. So it was in the form of a flat pattern, right? And if you look back over here, this was also a flat pattern, much, much bigger, right? So here's the top. You have an A, B, C, right? So just think about it like this. That's a flat, right? So now if I go back to the current time, maybe that could happen, right? I mean, if you look at the sequentials, we're on a 2-day 9, right? We're also, we've had a 4-day 9 just a couple days ago. So, you know, some of these time frames are getting a little exhausted. Look at this. This is the 5-day chart. We're on a 9 right now on the 5-day chart. So, and then the weekly chart, I believe we still have a little room to go. Yeah, we're on a 6. So 7, 8, 9, we're pretty close. But if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if you count the sequential from here, because it did flip, then you can say technically maybe we're on an 8 already, and then next week is a 9, right? So for me, I'm rooting for a correction. I think we need a correction. Doesn't mean a lot of the altcoins will correct. I'm talking about, you know, correction through consolidation, or correction through time, and even correction through price. I mean, you can see today the market's down pretty big, right? 5-6% across the board. So that's good. That's healthy. It's flushing out all the bad money, all the bad trades. And that's what you want, because you got to be able, you know, to walk into a room and be able to read the room. And if you notice, there's too much bullishness, right? There's a lot of bullishness, which is fine, which is what you want. But when people get too bullish, the market seems to go the opposite, right? I mean, you've seen the polls people put out. What happens first? Bitcoin hits 50K or Bitcoin hits 40K? People will vote, and it's usually the opposite of what people said it was, right? So what if this is the flat right here? So here's the all-time high, 69K, right here. So we run up to the all-time high. This is just a scenario, right? An idea. We run up to the all-time high. We pull back, right? Then we break above the all-time high, just like we did last time. The last 2 times, this is what happened. We ran right up into the all-time high. We pulled back. Then we broke above the all-time high. Then we went back underneath the all-time high. Remember this pattern right here. And that could happen right here. Boom, 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 boom. And then we can go. And that would have created a base. It would have created some type of consolidation pattern, right? Right? And I mean, it could be bigger than this. It can continue for a little while, right? I mean, that's just one idea for Bitcoin. The other idea, basically, the other idea would be a retracement from this wave here. So maybe a 50% retracement or even a 618. So between 59 and 62K, that would be a good area for a pullback if that's what's happening, right? Maybe we still have another high to go. You could see the divergences are starting to get pretty big, right? So, you could see we have, and not just on the daily, but we have this move up, this move down, right? But divergences, we can come down and then take it out again, and then come down and then take it out again, right? And sort of create this sort of broadening wedge or ascending channel, right? Before then coming back down and correcting even bigger. So there's endless possibilities of what a correction could look like. But that's not the point. The point is we should be on the lookout, right? We should be on the lookout for at least some type of consolidation or some type of correction. Because another reason is, this is the daily chart. Look at this. We had a 9, right? We pulled back. But then look what happened. Look at this. Look at the difference here. I want to show you this. So we have a 9 here, right? We have a consolidation, and then we broke out. But look at the breakout. Look how much conviction there is. That was a real breakout. But look at the difference between this breakout. You could see it's very choppy, right? I mean, if I zoom in a little bit, you could see all that chop, right? So here's the all-time high, chop, 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 chop. And what do we say about that? What have I been saying for the last few months about what happens when that happens, right? Well, that's exactly what happened back over here. Same thing right here. Look at this. This is a flat where you have the top, you have this big conviction breakout, and then you pull down, you go chop, 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 and then you break out, and everybody's like, yay, we broke out, new all-time high, right? Which is happening now, but this is just an example or like a fractal of what I'm showing. But we chop, 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 we break out, everybody gets excited because we broke this top, but then bam, we come all the way back down. So that's an A, B, C. So again, we have a conviction breakout. We pull back and then we chop, chop, chop. We break the top, but then we pull back. So A, B, C. So going back to where we are now, right? I mean, look how big this thing was. It was pretty big. So that could happen again, right? And that probably is what's happening. So we have this conviction breakout, right? We came up here, and then we made a top. We pulled back, and then we chop, chop, chop. We broke the top, and it looks like this move that we broke the top. Look, here's the problem. When we broke out of the new all-time high with Bitcoin, it wasn't a move like this. It was a corrective move like this, right? So instead of this, you get this. And that, my friends, is not for sure. It's never, nothing's ever for sure, but the probabilities are it's probably a fake out to the upside. The last 2 times Bitcoin broke a new all-time high after their 4-year cycle was a trap. But then it pulled back in a flat, and then it continued the all-time high. Because when you break the all-time high, what do people do? leverage, 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 and then bam, it gets wiped out. And then they're not too sure again, and then we go. So boom, A, B, C, go. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying be careful, be on the lookout, be skeptical, be cautious, right? Because, you know, it very well could happen. And anytime, like I said, we have this pump to the upside, an impulse to the upside, you have a pullback, okay, fine, it's bullish, right? But then you sort of, instead of continuing to pump, you're sort of like correcting, chopping, but you're grinding to the upside. So as we're moving up, people think, okay, we're bullish, but it's correcting, right? It's a flat pattern. So we have an A, B, you break the top, and then usually what happens is you pull back. And I've been talking about that for a while. So we'll see if it plays out. The way this gets invalidated is if this pulls, well, it can come down here and still can be considered a flat. It can be all the way down here and be an expanded flat. It can like cut in the middle and be a running flat, or it can retest the low and be a regular flat, right? So there's a different ways you can look at it. But if this pulls back and it continues higher, right, then maybe we have a 1-2, 1-2 on our hands instead. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens. If you zoom in, let me take that off the screen, and we're gonna get to XRP. I'm gonna show you that thing that I haven't shown before. Go to the 30-minute chart. You can see how messy it looks, right? You can see all that mess in there. So, like this was a flat right here. See how it moved up? You had a top, then you move back down, then you sort of chop back up, you broke the top, but instead of continuing higher, it was a fake out, and then we came all the way back down. So maybe this is a flat pattern, right? Which is really this right here. So we have an A, a B, and a C. So that could be finished, right, on the small time frame, and we can continue to pump it to the upside, right? We can continue marching up. But here's the thing. Here's how we make it so that, we don't need this consolidation, or because I still think we need it. But look at this trend line here. Right? You have this trend line here. I mean, you can even draw it here, right? There's another one here, right? So the price, it's running up into resistance, 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 right? So we need to bust through this thing with conviction, and that would make me feel better. But, when you have this rising resistance line and you have a downward RSI, that's creating bearish divergence, and eventually things come back the opposite way. But that's good. We want that to happen. We want that to happen. We want that reset of the oscillators. We want that reset of the RSI and take out all the over leveraged trades, and that way it'll move up more with more momentum, right? Because it looks like it's losing momentum, right? Now, of course, anything can happen. The correction might be done. Look we have a flat here, A, B, C. Maybe that's all we get. Maybe that's all we get. Maybe Bitcoin is so bullish, the market is so bullish, that's all we get. We broke this top here. We break out, test, back test, continue higher. Totally possible, right? So just throwing it out there, hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, I mean, if I go to the weekly chart, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 green candles in a row. We have a neutral candle, and we have 3 more green. So, we'll see how this plays out. Am I bearish? No, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin. But on the macro front, right? On the on the short term, I think we need some type of correction here. Maybe it's even a big correction like this, and we get sort of this inverse head and shoulders where we continue breaking out. So this correction here, or a big cup and a handle pattern, that wouldn't be so bad, right? So if the correction is not a flat pattern, and it's going to be much more steep, then we can say, okay, the correction that's coming is going to backtest this area, or somewhere in this this 618 50% zone, right? So maybe we move up a little higher, A, B, C. We play around in here a little bit, and then we continue higher, right? So then that would be, right, you got a nice cup and a handle, and we're ready to go, or an inverse head and shoulders, ready to go. If this thing just keeps going and going and going, eventually it's just going to be a blow off top, and it's going to do this, right? But if you have this little pit stop on the way there, then you have more momentum, more probability of getting higher. And all these ETFs, and they're all great, right? But they're going to take profits, and they want their investment to do as well as possible, and they understand that we don't want it to be too overextended. Look at the last time that happened. From here to here, we had a pullback, came back up, and then it was sort of over with. So if I took that and I put it right here, maybe we get back up to 94K, or maybe, we get up to about 95, 94K. Then we have that sort of consolidation pattern, right? So just be cautious, right? That's all I'm saying. Because when I look at some of these altcoins, that they're like Ethereum is at the 786. So once Ethereum breaks that, I'll feel a lot better for more continuation for the altcoins. But like when I look at things like XRP, I don't see much correction left. I see more if consolidation, if anything, right? So, I think XRP could have, and we'll talk about that now. Come back over here. What if we have, right? Here's your down move. Here's this Wyckoff accumulation schematic 2, right? So you have your down move, and then the 3-wave move to the upside. So let me draw that real quick. So we have, I'll put this here. And I'll put this one about here. Actually, I'll just put one for now, and just to show. So we have this move down, right? We have this move down. Then we have this move back to the upside. Same thing here. We have 1, 2, 3. Can't really see it because I'm on the weekly chart. Actually, let me zoom in so we can get more detail. But yeah, we have a 1, 2, 3. We have a 3-wave move up to this resistance, right? So that's that resistance there. Then we come all the way down, right? This one did break the low. It doesn't have to, right? Depending what you're looking at. And then we come all the way down, right? Then we come back up, Same thing here. We come down, we come down. We come back up in phase B. We come back up in phase B, right? And then we start our creek phase, right? Which would kind of look like this, which you kind of chop, 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 chop around like a U shape, and then you break out. So if I had to, determine that, it would probably be something like this. And then you break out like that. So something like that. And that would actually be very bullish, because remember what we talked about the other day, which is this could be a part of a contracting triangle, because we're working out on wave E, right? So A, B, C, D, and then boom, we get E. So that would make sense to me. And that E wave is a part of a much bigger E wave, right? And this was the video I put out responding to blockchain backers analysis on XRP. So A, B, C, D, and then this contracting triangle itself is wave E. So currently we're in wave E of E, potential E, right? So we'll see. I think we have a really good shot at breaking out into a new all-time high very soon. I mean, for multiple reasons, right? I mean, this video here is just another reason, right? Or this Wyckoff structure here that was identified right here is just another reason, another bullish signal, right? Not to mention all the other bullish signals like rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. Now we're getting that final gear up before the big pump. Same exact thing that happened over here. Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, gearing up for that big pump. Boom, right? And that's the same thing that happened in this channel here, right? And that's the same thing that's also happening here, is this sort of channel pattern, right? This ascending channel, right? So the ascending channel represents reaccumulation. So you got one here, you got one here. So we're at that end stage, right? And then you also have Bitcoin at an all-time high. But again, it would make sense if Bitcoin corrected or at least consolidated, maybe in that flat pattern we talked about, maybe even a little steeper on that 618 retrace, which would allow, another correction for XRP, which would finish out wave E, right? Because, when I look at things like, even I go to, even like, looking at something like H bar, maybe this is like a diagonal, right? Where you have an 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have this sort of diagonal, right? Which requires some type of ABC correction before a continuation. So, that's something to keep an eye on, right? Ethereum. Now, Ethereum could be, right, in the middle of a third wave. So you have 1, 2, and now you're in wave 3. And maybe this third wave is in 4, then we get 5, right? So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this whole thing will be 1, 2, all of this is 3, and then we get that correction, consolidation, before hopefully heading higher, right? So a few mixed signals on the charts, but overall, when you look at across the board, it looks like you need some type of correction through time, right? Even if it just looked like this, boom, 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 right? something like that to build some volume profile up in here, because we want to build a base on top of the all-time high. Because if you really think about it, the all-time high needs to act as support, but it's kind of hard for it to do that when the move started way down here at 38, almost 39K, goes straight up, breaks the all-time high. That's hard to do, right? So usually what happens is you come up at or around the all-time high, you build up a base, right? Then you break above it, right? And then you hold above it, then you continue higher. So, going back to XRP, and then also look at this. It would look like maybe an ascending triangle. So yeah, boom, 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 right? Something like that. So here's your triangle right in here. So this pullback, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Actually, I would think we would need it. So when I look at the price of even THETA, you can kind of start to see it already, consolidating here, where you're sort of making this rounded top in here, right? So, zooming in on that, it looks like Bitcoin, right? It looks like you have this, you broke out, right? And then here's the top, and then you chop, 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 and then you break the top, and then you come right back in. So again, it looks like it's creating some type of a flat pattern here, where you have A, B, and now we're getting C. So C might come all the way down here. C could be an expanded flat, or it can stop around the middle and be a running flat. We have to wait and see how it progresses, right? Hell, it could be done already. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3. We have a 3-wave shape. I'd like to see 5, right? So 1, 2, maybe we're in the middle of that 3, 4, and 5. Somewhere down between, anywhere between $2.25 up to $2.90, I think would be a good pullback area, right? So, something like that. And then a continuation. Because again, you're running into this, this line in here, right? So you hit the line, you hit the line, you hit the line, the resistance line. So you need to pull back like a slingshot. So this line is strong, right? So you need to pull back like a slingshot. Then you can come up and break it. So, we technically, we've been consolidating for this whole time right in here since, because this whole move, the whole move since March 5th, right? So how many days is that? We'll go March 5th till today. So we've already been consolidating about 10 days. So that's good. We're 10 days in to this consolidation. So, yeah. So we're, before we know it, we'll be at 2 weeks of consolidation. So I think it's looking good for at least a correction, a little bit more than a continuation high. Because I'm bullish. I'm very bullish on THETA. I'm very bullish on the whole market, right? Because when I look at the macro, that was the micro, right? When you look at the short term, it's more difficult to gauge. But when you look at the bigger term, right, the long term, to me, I mean, we haven't even made it to the 236 really yet. So, I mean, $4.19 at the very, very minimum. the lowest retracement level is $4.19. We haven't even hit it yet. So I think this is just a little pit stop before we get much higher. Because I really want to see, and I really think we can get between $8 and $10 is my target for theta for the retracement level, right? Not necessarily taking profit, but that's where I'm looking for in this retracement level. Now, my hodling, my investing, I'm not going to even think about touching it until we break this all-time high and get at least a 1618, or really probably higher than that, a 2618. So I would say between $25 and $40 would be the target once we broke out of the all-time high, going as high between $50 and $65, right? Conservatively. Now, if we start busting through those levels when we break out on a new all-time high, then I can flip it to log scale and say, okay, this thing's got more power than we thought, right? So now it's time to set our horizons even higher. But we're not there yet. We still haven't even gotten to the first retracement level. That's why I still think we got much more room to go. But if you look at this line here, this line's pretty big, straight up, right? So if I take that line and I put it, for example, over here, that's exactly the same. Look at this. It's exactly the same length from here to here. And look what happened here. We had this correction. And how long did this correction last? If I put it right here, all the way up to here, it lasted about a month, right? About 28 days. So what I could do, actually, let me zoom in. This is a good example here. So I take this line, right? And that same is probably about the same as this one. Look at that. It's the same length. This from here to the top, right? And I'll take it down here from this red candle here, correction, to the top. So you can see this line is pretty significant in where, you know, we top out. Now, if I put it over here, let's see. Well, would you look at that? If I put it right on this, you could see right here, we came up, we pulled back in this correction right here. So if I put it at the bottom of the correction, look at that. We went a smidge higher, but you get the idea. So this line right here represents sort of like a ruler, like a yardstick, right? This is our measuring tape right here. So if I take this and put it right there, look at that. It's exactly the same length. So, you know, this line is the same length as this line, right? Or the same subwave, right? And about the same as this one here. About the same as this one here. See what I'm saying? And then see this dip right here, measure it from up here, about the same as that. So all these lines are relatively the same length. So if that's the case, then if I zoom in, let's go to the lower time frame and I come back over here. And now what we can do is take a fractal. So just to give us a visual representation of what happens when we reach the top of this sort of this line, this measuring stick that we have, right? And I'll bring it right about there. So yeah, I'll take this and I'll put it right around here. So, you know, something like that where, you know, just to give us, I'm not saying it's exactly going to do that, just to give us a visual representation of how big, how small, right, it can be. So I would, you know, the last time we had a move like this, right, taking this measuring stick, putting it right there, right? Then taking this and then going back to the last time. I'm even the moves down. Look at the move down from the bottom here all the way to the top. See, even the moves down, right? You can see this whole move to the downside. So that's this stick right here, this line represents you know, a measurement, right? And this line is the same, about the same as this line here. So we have two lines very similar. So when the price goes up, 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 up to the length of all of these lines, not just that one, but this one over here, right? This one back over, down, back over here. They're all relatively the same length. What ends up happening is you get corrections like this, you get corrections like this, and you get corrections like this. So that's what I'm saying. So since we've already reached the length of this line, there's this, and Bitcoin looks like it needs it, and XRP looks like it needs that E wave, and various others, right? Since we met the length of this line, all I'm saying is the probabilities increase for something like this to happen, something like this to happen, something like this to happen. That's all I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying don't get overly bullish. Don't continue to FOMO. Just wait. Watch. Wait. Be patient. Right? Look at the king. Right? Look at the king of the jungle, right? It tiger, lion, whatever, it stops there and it waits and it's patient and it waits for that extraordinary opportunity and then it pounces, right? So lions, you know, they'll sit there and wait for their prey. So I'm thinking we get something like this. So now when I zoom out, let's zoom out to the 2-day chart, then that's what it starts to look like, right? And then I'll even add more to the fractal. Where did I take it from? Oh, okay, right here. So I'll add a little bit more to that. So boom, there we go. So if I take this, so that's all I'm saying is something like that right there. And look at that. It gets us right back to the all-time high according to what I put there. So there you go. Let me actually put it a little bit higher. So yeah, so I've never talked about this, right? This is brand new information that's coming out for the first time. So, you know, if you always, if you can, like the video and hit that subscribe if you haven't already. I got more ideas and more content coming soon. I haven't thought about when I want to release it, but I'm going to get more into the nitty-gritty of this. And we talked about, you know, the fractals, but here is a beautiful visual representation of what it can look like. But all I'm saying is, in order to get this, which is what we all want, we need to get this sideways movement, just like how we had it down here, right? So the length, right, same as about that one there, just about. And then that line is the same as all of these lines, right? That's like theta's sort of measuring stick here, where it goes up in these lengths, right? And it can't go up any more until it has a correction, right? So they're all relatively in that same area, which means this move that we've been in since the bull market support band, right, all the way down here, it's coming to an end. Now, that doesn't mean we can keep going higher. It would be unheard of. It would be the biggest wave I've ever seen in Theta, right? But chances are you're going to get some kind of a sideways move, right? So, and then this could be a 1, 2, 3, and then you have this triangle for wave 4, or maybe it's a flat pattern and it doesn't take this long. I'm just giving you a visual representation, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5. So yeah, that's it for Theta. Let me go back to XRP now. But I mean, real quick with Bitcoin, I mean, you can even say that this is, some sort of rising wedge in here, right? Something like this. So, a rising wedge. And that's another thing with Bitcoin, right? You got a rising wedge, right? And that's also a diagonal, and it took the form of an A, B, and now we probably will get C. And usually rising wedges, just like falling wedges, they reach the bottom of that point, right? So you have, maybe we come all the way down here, right? And then in a 3-wave shape, 1, 2, 3, and then we continue higher into the bull run. So that would be my main idea, guys. So I know people say, some say, it can go up, it can go down, it can go sideways. There's ideas for all of them, and that's true. There is scenarios for all of them. It's all about probabilities. It's not about knowing exactly which one it's going to be. Trying my best to figure that out. But at the end of the day, multiple things can happen. So I'm going to present different ideas, right? It's not as simple as saying it's going to go up, it's going to go down. There's much more complexity to that. Just because it goes up, how does it go up, right? Does it go up impulsively? Does it go up correctively? Does it go up because it's part of a triangle? Does it go down because it's part of a flat? Does it, there's a lot of different complexities to it. So I try to make it the case to present, all the ideas. But then I also give you my opinion of what my main idea is. And at the moment, this is my main idea, which is and the reason why is because there's a couple different things. Number 1, we have a rising wedge. Number 2, we have a potential flat, right? And number 3, we're on a daily 9 sequential, a 5-day 9, right? And then continuing on, using Elliott wave, we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves, right? And then zooming out even further, another reason why is because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And another reason why is because when you zoom out even more, this whole thing is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 5 here, you have 5 here, and this whole thing is 5, right? And we're at the all-time high. And every time we got to the all-time high the last time, we created some type of flat pattern. So there you go. I gave you like 7 reasons why I believe this could be the potential outcome. So for that reason, that's my main idea. Could it be wrong? Hell yeah. It could be totally wrong. But I'm just mounting up evidence to suggest that's what it could be. Now, here's the part that's tricky. If this is an ABC, right, a flat, that doesn't mean the price has to come all the way down here. It can continue going, or it can stop right where it is now and be considered a flat, right? So let me show you right here. So you have this, you have this, and you have this. So this is a regular one, this is an expanded one, this is a running flat. So this could be a running flat. It could be over right now. It could be done. The correction can be over right now, and this thing can rip, and that would still be considered a flat. You know, so there's always that possibility. So always know that. Or we can do this. We can have one more high, then we go into the flat. So then it's an A, B, then we get C, then we go. So we could have another high before we go in wave C. So always know that too, right? But regardless of, you know, that's why it's difficult to know exactly what it's going to be. But the whole point is we need a consolidation, we need a correction, you know, some type of ranging motion. When we come down, yes, the alts will probably get beat up. But if we come down and as we go back up, or if it's going to be a bigger correction and we have a retracement, whatever it is, the oscillation up, oscillation down, oscillation up, or a breakout out and up, it's going to cause major volatility in the altcoins. And I think these altcoins are really going to fly. So yeah, that's it. I mean, if you look at Aave, for example, you know, this is one that really doesn't look like it totally needs a correction right away, right? I mean, we broke, and this is a good representation for all the coins that look like Aave, which is quite a bit of them. The ones that broke out, right? Or even like THETA Fuel, where they break out and they still have much more gas in the tank. They have much more gas in the tank. Remember the line, the measuring stick, right? So look at this one. It's short. It's, you know, according to this one, it would be longer. So if I come over here, right, look how big these waves are. So the third wave, I'll put it from here to here, right? And then I'll take this and I'll bring it over here. I mean, look at that. Look how monstrous that one is. And we're not even that. See, that's the thing. And look how big this sucker is compared to this one, right? So if you, that's why I'm like, okay, this is another reason why when I look at the macro, I don't think we're near being completed yet. You know, like I've been saying, since the price was all the way down here, we need some type of retracement. And I think that's what we're in the process of. But as we go up, you know, some coins that shoot up pretty massively, they look like they need more consolidation, more of a correction. That doesn't mean it has to happen. But, you know, if it doesn't happen, great. No problem. The point is, I still think we got more upside to go. So hopefully that made sense. Now, when I talk about upside, I mean the macro. When I talk about correction consolidation, I mean the micro. You know, sometimes people get confused. Well, you said it was up, now you say it was down. Well, depending what time frame we're looking at here. So, I mean, just looking at QNT, it doesn't even look like it's near being done. I mean, you can see here, we have a beautiful inverse head and shoulders here, right? Here's your neckline. So we haven't even begun we're not even at the beginning of the beginning yet with this one. So some coins, you know, they already broke out, right? Like THETA. Doesn't mean they can't keep going higher, but when you look at coins like Quant, I mean, they barely tested their bull market support band. So maybe we get a little, we have this move up, we pull back a little bit more, which would rhyme with the rest of the market. And then, you know, we get that continuation, because I still think the whole crypto market as a whole has more upside to go, right? So, you know, going back to THETA real quick. There's that representation of the fractal. Take that off the screen. You know, 1, 2. And if this thing really wants, you know, like I said, we can correct like this, continue higher. But if this thing wants to come all the way back down, that would be very bullish, right? We back test, and that, like I said before, that would be a 1, 2, 1, 2. So that would be very bullish. And then we would get that monster wave up. So what do? Do we consolidate sideways? Do we pull back and back test? Right? Regardless of what it is, I think we still have more upside to go. So going back to XRP, I was supposed to make this a XRP video, but I wanted to sort of mix around the market. Yeah, it looks like, you know, though with everything I just said, it would make sense that we have some type of correction because we have an A, B, C, D, and E, and then also the ascending triangle. Also with, you know, with the way Bitcoin looks, with the rising wedge, with the 5 waves, with the flat pattern, with theta being, you know, that measuring stick, the trend, you know, that line, that measurement that we did, right? So there's so many things that say, hey, this wouldn't be such a bad idea. Doesn't mean we can't go a little higher first. But the point is, we need some consolidation, some correcting behavior. And that, my friends, would probably be your last opportunity to buy the dip. So what am I doing? What is Crypto Brandon doing? Well, currently, I'm starting to DCA a little bit. I mean, if you just look, let me take everything off the screen now. If you look over the last while, right, we're down almost 10%. So if we have a 10% dip, it's not too bad of an idea to start, you know, adding a little bit to your position, whatever you want to do, right? Dollar cost average. If we get a 15 to 20% dip, then I'm going to start thinking, okay, we're getting near the end. And then if we get back down to the bull market support band, then it's really going to look like, okay, you know, that would be 15%. So that would look like a nice, you know, a good opportunity to go long, right? Because again, you have this Wyckoff pattern where you have this move down, sort of like an M, right? So boom, 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 and then you have this M, and then go like that, right? So hopefully the M doesn't come down and break the low, right? In a schematic 1 where you break that liquidity, then continue higher. Hopefully it's just like, you know, some type of bull flag or some type of pullback down into the ascending triangle, or, you know, like an A, B, C, D, and E, and then go. So looking for E, and that would make sense with the rest of the market. So total 3 real quick. I mean, look at total 3. Look at all those green candles. If I put a line from the bottom all the way to the top, and then I take that line and I come all the way back over here, it's about the same length as the drop down, right? You know, and if I take that line, and it will go, it does move up and down depending on what scale you're on. But, you know, looking at this one's definitely a lot bigger, right? So, you know, we could have some more room to go. So yeah, this line here, you know, we can still keep pumping it up. I really want to see the total 3 break out into a new all-time high. And I think that's coming. All I've been saying on this video is be cautious. Look at this. We're almost at the 618. Typically, when you get to the 702, 618, you start getting a little bit of correction, consolidation, and that's what I think we need. And that would be a very healthy thing. It would be healthy for that. It would be, you know, continue the bull run. So that'll be it for this video. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and checking this out, and I'd really appreciate. That would be amazing if you can drop that like and always leave a comment. And if you wanted to support the channel, there's always the tip jar. There's 4 addresses up there, and If you're already on your phone, all you have to do is use Google Lens, and it'll scan your screen, the QR code. And if you want to leave a tip, that would be awesome. But until next time, guys, have a good one. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.